Hi, I'm Dr. Carl Kolb. This is webinar number 2 to discuss Program Standard 4.0. The U.S. Hemp Authority has written a very complete, robust, end-to-end standard for approval of your operation. This is coupled with the Code of Federal Regulations that's required for all food plants. Given those two, the ability to complete your certification depends on how well these standards are addressed, quite normally with evidence to show tracking of the information and compliance or verification to the standard. Two pieces to the discussion today, two overall pieces. Number one, the program standard 4.0 is very complete. I strongly encourage everyone to read that end to end. It is everything I'm held accountable for to ensure that your compliance and your certification is warranted. Number two, within the standard, besides understanding the standard, it's important that you read through the dictionary of terms. The dictionary is the language we speak. So know the language, read those terms, because they will be with you the entire time you're involved in this industry. The certification process is designed to get you into the system in the easiest manner possible. So besides these 3 webinars, filling out the application, discussion of the program standard 4.0, and the Plus 21 webinar, your ability to complete the standard starts slow and it starts easy. After our phone call and after I've reviewed the application with you, one of the most important things is ensuring that we're in compliance with the standard. Most of that, besides a number of verification activities to do with the cannabis itself, is all about the plant where this is processed. You will be going through the exact same process every other food plant goes through in the United States. It starts with the agricultural products, moves into the process itself. Every ingredient is examined to ensure that it complies with the USDA or FDA requirement. The packaging, the handling, the blending, whatever may be required, must all be in compliance with the standard. But what we've done here at CCI is to make this as simple as possible. Once we get to the point of the facilities, the manufacturing facilities that process or co-pack with you, we will, in the first year, allow for you to self-attest to the fact that you are in compliance with that food safety standard. This is done, if you wish, through a phone call where I will ask questions and I will look for the answers with evidence to back up your answer. Those questions will stem from what we're going to discuss today. If we find that there's some doubt as to the robustness of your food safety and cannabis program, hemp program, then an on-site requirement may be necessary, and this will require a visit from a very experienced auditor. In the first year, we attempt to train as much as we can and identify the areas that you need to develop procedures around or correct in some fashion. And all we may ask is additional evidence after the audit to ensure that when we certify you, your plant is food safe. The on-site audit will not be repeated in the first year. It is training more than inspection. So to relieve a lot of fears and anxiety, the phone call, if you go that far, or if you have to go to the on-site audit, is more about discussing and looking what you've done and helping you to determine what is the best way to handle risk, and that risk being not in compliance with the standard. If it's required to do the on-site audit, that will be the only audit you get until the following year. Each year, there is a recertification that involves a plant audit. If you escape the plant audit in the first year, if you're exempted, the second year, the audit will be required, and thereafter to maintain your certification. So let's get started. I'm going to put up the checklist. The checklist aligns directly with the program standard 4.0. So you have that handy, you can follow along. And after this is done, what we'll do is take any phone calls or emails you might have and address those particular points that need more discussion. I'm happy to do this over the phone at no charge, or which way helps you to come into compliance. I don't wish to scare anyone, but we have attempted to make this process very simple, smooth, and easy in order to get you into the program. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to pull up the checklist that the auditor will use, or myself, when we go through your plant. So let's start. It's a 3-page checklist. Once again, each one of these rows complies with, by number, the program standard 4.0. So let's take number 1, fundamentals. The fundamentals are the food safety fundamentals that we find, and you will receive this standard, that are necessary for the operation of a food plant. They involve a number of what we refer to as prerequisite programs for things such as site standards, GMPs, equipment, sanitation procedures, maintenance procedures, and such. 2.0 is the conformance to the FDA dietary supplements and food and beverage requirements. These are those particular things that have to do with hygiene, sourcing a product, validation that the product is clean, has been sourced properly, and is stored in a manner in which preserves its fidelity. 3.0 labeling. Labeling basically comes down to what the USDA requirements for labeling. And these are roughly 5 different areas that we inspect to ensure that we're in compliance with those things required of all food products that go on the shelf. What's important, as I mentioned earlier, is that when you submit your labels to us, ensure that the U.S. Hemp Authority logo is correctly placed on that label. We will not approve any labels without the U.S. Hemp Authority logo. We need to see its size, its color, its shape, and where it's positioned on the label. There are on the website standards which have been prescribed to ensure this is done properly. We will be looking at your label from both the size and placement of the font and also the nutritional panel in the back. And you can be assured that we will provide you recommendations which you are not required to make unless it involves the U.S. Hemp Authority logo. 3.1 I just discussed. 3.2, falls under the labeling again. Strongly recommend you read these requirements. The USDA is very open and specific about these, and there's a number of guides on the internet regarding placement, size, color, and so on. 4.0, child-resistant packaging. Any number of ways to handle this. The package itself, a warning label, a retailer warning, but ensuring that children cannot open and use this in such a manner that may affect their health, your health, or the contamination of the product. 5.0 backs this up with age verification, how that's done. 6.0 cannabinoids, which ones are allowed, how much is allowed, how they're stated on the label. Purity standards, again, purity, how it's validated, how it's evidenced. Here we're looking for laboratories that are ISO 17025 certified. And here I'll be looking for verification of purity standards based on what your formulation looks like. Good manufacturing practices have to do with any number of things in the plant, how product is handled, how it's stored, where it's stored, how equipment is calibrated, age of equipment, that equipment and how it's sanitized, how it's used, if it's used for a specific purpose, and changeover, things of that nature. Manufacturing, 8.1, those tends to do with good manufacturing practices, lean manufacturing, manufacturing such that there's no contamination, that quality is assured from product to product. Packaging is interesting because we look at packaging and is it third-party certified. There's quite a bit of packaging in this industry that is not certified, that is made from contaminated product or product containing asbestos or lead. So we look here for third-party approval of that packaging with a certificate that states it's been produced or sterilized to a particular standard. We look for evidence with that. Labeling, the very same thing. Storage and distribution, how the product is stored, what are the recommendations for storage, and in terms of distribution, how that product is handled from point A to point B. Hygiene, do with personal hygiene, hygiene of the plant, sanitation. How do we ensure that there's no cross-contamination from the machinery, the equipment, from one ingredient to another, from people to the ingredient, or vice versa. Traceability is critical. The FDA has a new traceability rule out called 204. We're going to be looking basically, though, that we can trace ingredients back to the supplier, back to the primary supplier, and that traceability extends up to the product, its blending, and then another number allows the traceability to continue to the next node in the supply chain or to the retail client. Documentation, that all we've just talked about is documented so that it's evidence that these actions we've just spoken of have occurred and corrective actions taken. Moving to the last page, third-party testing, if such, who they are, what is their certification, and number 10, HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point program, is a program that's required if you do the optional food safety certification along with this particular standard. If you wish to have your plant food safety certified, it can be done at the very same time, and those standards will be made available to you. If there's no questions, I encourage you to go to the +21 discussion. Please call or email me with your questions and be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.